Hi and welcome to my development diary for week 9 to week 11. This is one of the last development diaries for this project, and it is something I am enjoying working on so far. So, as part of this, I just wanted to show off some of the completed work, which includes the base game user interface, checkpoint system, game logo, multiple assets, and more. I have been working on quite a bit over the last couple of weeks, which includes the light tracking, also known as the noise meter. So, as part of this, I've also added in some bass music and sound effects so that I can test to make sure that the system is working properly. This will be adjusted once we get the sound back from the sound engineer, or it will be adjusted if to a personal thing that I'll make if we don't get back the sound in time. So the biggest thing that I was working on was the light meter in the bottom right hand side of the corner of the screen, which has taken me a very long time to do, as no matter what I did I couldn't get it to work, and then in the end all it was one button that I pressed and forgot to do so. When I finished it, when the bar fills up, the light now comes on like it did before, but in the custom user interface. I will probably do a little bit more polishing to this to make it look a bit nicer when it comes towards the end of the project, but now it is working, I don't see any reason to continue to do so. But the blueprints and everything were relatively simple once I'd managed to get it working. I was using 2 different image planes, which includes a backing to the meter itself, which was then overlaid with a material which the blueprints which are about to come on the screen will convey. It was something I found online on YouTube. It took me a very long time. I bought assets which looked similar to the result I wanted, and unfortunately they didn't work the way I intended and never got used. So I'm hoping in a future project I make that this will happen as well. So as we continue to look at the UI, you can see that I'm just selecting the material, and this is the material base. So in Photoshop I had to create the color gradient that I would like for the meter itself, but also on top of that I had to make my own alpha so that everything was cut out and I could convey the meter in the way that I wanted to. Also on top of this I had to copy and also adjust slightly the code that I was learning on YouTube, so that when the velocity of the car reached a certain limit, that was when the angle of the light meter continued to go up. This proved tricky because I had to make sure that everything was perfect with the maths, and I ended up having to use sticky tape stuck onto my monitor to make sure that the angles were put in correctly. It probably looked very silly, and if I still have the picture of the monitor I will be putting it inside my OneNote so that you can see this. So continuing with the blueprints, you can also see in the tracker showing how the light meter is dynamic and how it is pulled from the player controller itself, and so on with the rest of the blueprint. References is something I'm becoming a lot more used to with this project because of the amount of times that they're used, and it is something that I look forward to learning more about in the future. So also as part of this project, I have worked with the Photoshop file that I initially made to create the correct gradient that I would like, and also the alpha. This ended up being tedious because I had to create the right angles at the right time and so on. Otherwise the maths would not have worked when I imported it into Unreal. The gradient was custom made, and once the math had been worked out for this, it made it very simple to implement into Unreal itself. So, moving on now from that, we'll have a quick look at the checkpoint particle system that I am working on at present. It is almost complete, and it is working quite well, I think. I have never used particles before, and I will eventually look more into working with Niagara over Cascade, as that is what Unreal is moving towards. But as you can see, I use 3 different kinds of particle effects. So one for smaller stars, one for medium-sized stars, and another for bigger stars, just to create a bit of variety. There's still going to be some editing done to this, so that I can finally complete it and make sure that it looks nicer in-game. So as part of this, I had to design the alpha inside Photoshop so that I could make sure that it all worked correctly, and to make sure that it looked nice when it came inside the engine. This was done with a material as shown by Ben inside last week's lecture, and it is a simple material, and I'm sure that there is more I could do if I wanted to be more advanced with it. But over time I shall polish it. I also have created a star loading sprite, which is also being used as a 3D print. The reason for this is that at Game Expo I'm hoping to deliver this 3D model as a prop, so that when people play the game, they can also have a picture with the prop should they reach a certain time, or if they would like to. This will eventually be printed, which is being done at present, and once it is done I will then mould it in silicon and then cast it in resin with a gold tint. So over Easter I shall be finishing off the last remaining bits, which will be to polish the particle effect, program the menu screens, polish the remaining assets, animate the finishing of the race, and general tidying of blueprints. But that's it for now, but thank you for having a look at this video, and I hope it all plays out soon.